you guys. We are going to go ahead and work on page 235 today on Thursday for our math page. And I don't know if you watched the video of making the cinnamon toast, but I hope you had fun making that easy snack of cinnamon sugar toast and then cutting it into equal parts. Now we're going to go ahead and just practice on our math page, making sure we understand some important concepts. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the math page. Okay, so I'll hold it up in a second, but it says Jay and his family are going on a picnic. Draw lines to show equal shares. And that's really important when you're talking about equal shares and fractions, is that you understand that all of the parts that you're talking about have to be the same. Remember, equal in any way you use it, whether or not it's 1 + 1 = 2 or 2 halves of equal shares, equal means the same. They have to be the same. So here is our page. It says Jay wants to share his burger with his mom. How can he cut his burger into 2 equal shares? 2 equal shares. So we only need 2 equal parts. There's many ways you could do this. You could draw a line straight from the top to bottom, making sure to try to put it exactly in the middle so that you create equal parts that are the same. You could draw it from side to side and make 2 equal parts that way. Or you even could draw it diagonally. And the diagonal parts, if you put them together, would still be the same. I think I'm going to go ahead and draw mine diagonally. And there I have, on each side of my line, pretend like I cut those pieces apart, I would have 2 equal shares. So what I could do is, if I wanted to, I could say, well, what do I call 2 equal shares? I call them halves. I could write that down, Halves, like that. So another way to talk about 2 equal shares is to call them halves. I could also say I have, if you want to look at how older brothers and sisters might label this, if you have it, like a fraction. I could write it this way. And what this means is I have 2 out of 2 equal parts, which makes 1 whole. If I put the 2 parts together, I get 1 whole. What if I only want to eat half of those? What if Jay decides he wants to save his for later? So then I would only have half. And the word half is HALF. And then if I wanted to write that, I would say, oh, Mom ate 1 out of 2 equal parts of her hamburger. And that is how I write that, 1 out of 2 equal parts. And I say that that is half. But this is all just interesting things that we need to think about. But the main purpose of our math is understanding how to split an object into equal shares. Let's look at number 2. Jay and his 3 sisters want to share a pan of cornbread. How can he cut the bread into 4 equal shares? Well, there's more than one way. He could try to draw lines and go 1, 2, 3, 4. He'd draw 3 lines to make 4 equal parts, but ooh, that would not be good, Jay. If you did that, one part might be bigger than the other part, and that could make sisters argue. So I would not do that, Jay. I would not draw 3 lines going all the same direction to try to make 4 parts. Instead, I would either draw 1 line from top to bottom to make halves, and then go to the side and draw the line in the middle from side to side, and you'd have 4 equal parts that way. You would create 4 smaller squares, or you could draw diagonal lines, which is what I think I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from corner to corner diagonally like that, and now I made halves, 2 equal parts, but I need to split that again to make fourths so that I have 4 equal parts. So I'll go through the other 2 corners, and now I actually have 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could have made 4 equal parts drawing lines this way and it would have made 4 smaller squares, or as I went from corner to corner and split it into 4 equal parts, I actually made 4 small triangles that you could put together. 1, 2, 3, 4, that are all the same size. They're all the same. Now, how would I write fourths? The word fourth starts with the word four, F-O-U-R, and then it has the TH digraph at the end, fourth, that TH like thumb. And then because there's more than one of them, I add suffix S to make a plural, more than one. And now I have fourths. If I wanted to show that like the math way with numbers, I could write I have 4 out of 4 equal parts, which is the same as 1 whole. Just like that, but that's extra. You don't even have to know that yet. All you have to know is how to take this cornbread pan that they have and split it into 4 equal parts. What we wouldn't want to do is, I'll show you like a puzzled penguin. Let's pretend like this is my square of cornbread down here. A puzzled penguin would be 4 equal parts if I did like 1, 2, 3, 4. Look, the white part in between the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 parts, but they're not equal at all. This part is much larger than this part. Wow, my little sister, if she got that one and I got this little piece, I'd be like, what? Your piece is bigger than mine. It's not the same. It's not fair. So then I can see that this isn't a good way to split objects into fourths. That's why I'm gonna just scribble it out. That's why I'm gonna go diagonal or through the middle, up and down to create those fourths. All right, let's look at number 3. Jay's mom and his 3 sisters want to share a block of cheese. How can they cut the block of cheese into 4 equal parts? Now, I need to be a little bit careful with this because this is a rectangle. It's not a square, but I can still go and do intersecting lines, so lines that cross each other in the middle. If I go starting from the top to the bottom, I go right to the middle of that line, try to draw a line down, and then go to the side. Go to the middle of the sides, there, and draw that across. You just have to be careful. And if you do that, and I tried my best, it's probably not perfect. If I used a ruler, I might be able to get those lines really straight. But trying to make 4 smaller rectangles within this to make 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's other ways you could do it. You could also do the diagonal lines there to make the 4 equal parts. Okay, let's look at the back of this paper. On the back, it says, there will be lots of food at the picnic. Measure the food in small paper clips. Oh darn, Mrs. Lloyd doesn't have any paper clips at my house. So instead of using paper clips, I decided to use pennies today because we have a coin jar that has a bunch of coins, and I easily found like 10 coins, 10 pennies that I could use. Make sure that you use all the same coin, because if I use like some quarters or dimes with my pennies, then I wouldn't be using standard units. Like when we read that story, I hope you watched the video, how many feet are in a foot? Or no, what was it? The king's foot? I can't remember the name of the story now, but remember how their feet were different sizes? So I need to make sure whatever I'm using to measure this is standard. It's all the same size. I decided pennies would be super fun because we're also learning about the Statue of Liberty that was made with copper, which is what we used to always make the pennies from, which is how come they are this very cool color, because of the copper. All right, so orange slice. Remember when Evan showed you how to measure, it's really important you start at the very beginning or edge. And when you're using objects to measure, the objects should be touching side to side to make sure it's as accurate as possible. Now, if you look at mine, if I try to put another penny down, there'll be all this extra coming over. So I actually think mine is closer to, instead of having 4 pennies long, I'm gonna say it's 3 pennies long. So how long is that? 1, 2, 3 pennies long. and I'm just gonna cross out paper clips and write pennies. I had to kind of guess because I couldn't man, I wish I could almost say it's like 3 1/4, 1/4 of that penny, right? But I couldn't really do that. So let's go ahead and measure the celery next on number 5. I'm gonna start the edge of my penny there, and I'm gonna line up this, keep lining up my pennies, making sure they're touching, because if there were spaces in between, that wouldn't be accurate. And this came out pretty close to this one. It only went over a little bit, so I'm just gonna stop there. How many pennies long is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pennies long. So I'll write a 7. I'm gonna cross out the word paper clips and write pennies. And then the last thing I'm measuring is my cracker. Just using my pennies again. You could use coins if you wanted. You could use Skittles. You could use, if you have paper clips, you could use paper clips. You could use anything that you have enough of that you could line up like this to see how many objects long, how many of that long is the object. Let's count. This is like perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pennies long. So there, cross that out. There we go. And there's my page number 4, 5, and 6. So then it just says number 7, order the picnic food from longest object, longest food, to shortest. Well, this one was 7 pennies long. It's the biggest number. That's my longest one. I can tell you, and I can even see that they even start at the same point. So the celery keeps going longer than the other 2 objects. So celery is first. I look at that word celery next to number 5, and then I write it on the line. And then I'm just gonna draw an arrow for the next one. The next longest one, I look at this, I'm comparing now the orange to the cracker, and the orange stops here, but the cracker keeps going. And if I looked at how many pennies it was, the orange was 5 pennies long, and the cracker was 5 pennies long, and the orange was only 3. So yes, the cracker was actually 2 more pennies than the orange slice. So here's the word cracker. I'm gonna go ahead and write that next on the line, just copying it. Remember, big kids learn how to find words in order to spell them correctly, and in this case, the words are on the page for us to use. And the last thing that is the shortest one is the orange slice. When I was comparing it to these two, the orange slice was only 3 pennies long, and you can see that it ended far before the cracker and the celery. So there's how you write the words orange slice. I will copy that on the line. Orange slice. And there you go. That is our page, just doing a little review of measuring things with different objects. And then on the other side, what were we doing? We were splitting things into equal parts. And the biggest thing you need to know here is that the parts need to be the same. They need to be equal. All right, you guys, that is Thursday's math lesson. Have an awesome night.